5 times 5.
5 by 5. He's good.
Hey, baby.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this live show from Meet the Pressers and Writing Shotgun with Charlie. We are at the Otis Technologies booth at the SHOT Show 2025. Matt Mallory over there, Charlie Cook here. Here in the middle is Zeke Stout from the MGS Trade School.
Yes, that's me.
Yeah.
Dude,
I want to know, though, did y'all, purposefully grease these chairs? Because, it's very slick, and I keep just kind of wow.
It's because, so we were talking about this before the show. Zeke is trying to become the most dapper for the Gundies next year. So he's dressed nice. He's got a silk suit, which is why he's slipping off the chairs. It's not our fault.
That's the best part of radio and video is they can't actually feel that it's not silk. I just screwed up and told them, didn't I?
All right, so we're letting out all of our secrets. We're letting out all the secrets here.
Howdy.
Hi.
What's new?
Great show.
It's riveting. Great
to have you here. Actually, a lot. It's a good show. So I missed the first time in 11 years last year. It was the first time I hadn't.
If you need it, it's down. Go ahead.
It's my water, man.
I know, man.
Okay. You got me a gift.
I did get you a gift.
First podcast I've ever been on where I got a gift.
Look at that.
Get a gift.
Yeah.
I've been on a lot of podcasts, radio shows, TV shows. Fox News didn't even give me a gift.
You can see how full it is.
It's full of love. It's full of love.
But last year I didn't come. And then, of course, the 2 years before that were COVID issues.
Yeah.
And it was what was it? Last year was 24, so 23 was amazing because nobody was here because of COVID.
Oh, yeah.
You could get so much business done.
That's true. That was the best year ever.
Yeah. And now we're back to SHOT Show, what SHOT Show is. And
it's bigger because they got the Caesar's salad.
Oh, that's true. You're just kind of
spread out.
When it's this busy, you're lucky if you get 5-10 minutes with somebody.
Oh, my gosh.
That's why. So I learned schedule ahead of time all these meetings that I really need to get.
Yeah. How many years is it that you've been coming?
This is total 12 years altogether. This is the 11th one I've attended.
Yeah,
same.
I'm
sorry, 10th because they canceled 21.
21,
right?
yeah,
for COVID.
So this is the 10th, but 12 years total.
And I actually think probably 20 is the one that caused COVID. I'm not just
I think it was because there was this buzz. Hey, there's some outbreak that might happen. We're like, oh, it'll be because of SHOT Show.
Right.
Sure enough, a month later, everybody has COVID.
The world shuts down.
Right.
Yeah. I know in 2020, I came on Wednesday and I leave on Friday. And Tuesday, Wednesday, I was busy. Thursday, I came over here, and then something was like, dude, you need to get yourself back to the hotel. It was a murder scene.
Yeah.
It was bad.
Yeah.
It was bad.
So history background. I mean, you've been on Meet the Pressers before, rode along with Charlie before?
We've talked about it for 5 years.
We've talked about it. So what it is this. I have to...
He's scared of Memphis.
I want to come to Memphis, man. 100 years ago, my grandfather on my dad's side was a pastor in Memphis.
Wow.
And my dad and my uncles used to swim across the Mississippi for fun.
Your dad and uncles were crazy.
Yeah, they absolutely
Have you seen the Mississippi? I mean, that thing is moving and it's huge.
Yeah, and there's things in there that'll eat you.
Yes,
right?
Yes, absolutely.
This is what they used to tell us. I can neither confirm nor deny, but this is what they told me.
So because of the size of this guest, maybe you should use the big van that we have.
There we go.
We rented a 15-passenger van for the show.
I were kind of scared.
Bringing everybody around. Well, you'll fit in there. That's the thing. A lot of leg room.
It's got the shag carpet in the back.
It's already broken, so it'll be fine.
Okay. So we'll just push it and roll down the hill. That's right. So it'll be like a 30-second episode.
Oh, gosh, you don't know. There's so many things wrong with that thing.
Oh, my gosh.
But, all right, so background on Zeke Stout. What was your – I always like to think this. We're all humble. We all have different things going on in life. But what was your catalyst that brought you into this industry?
I'll get to that, but I want to address, did he just say he's humble?
I try. No, I am. I like to think I am.
He's very humble. I'm kidding.
I know I try to be.
So how did I get into all this? So I had a 13-year career in the medical field.
Wow.
My degree's in biology, sports medicine. And I kind of got burnt out because I chased the dollar. I went into the medical sales side, made great money.
Money's good there, right?
Yeah, it was phenomenal money, but I learned real quick, and I'm glad I learned this lesson. Money doesn't motivate me. It does to an extent, because you need it, you have to have it, but it's not what makes me happy, right? I was miserable and making good money. And so I went to work for a buddy of mine. He had this big conglomerate. He had car dealerships, insurance companies, body shops, and then he had 2 Mexican radio stations. And we played high school basketball together. And I went into his office, burnt out. I said, "Here's my resume. I don't know what I'd do for you. I don't know much about cars or any of this other stuff, but let me in. He's like, all right. Within 6 months, I was his chief administrative officer.
Wow.
And he gave me a crash course in marketing, and I fell in love with marketing because there's that psychological connection that you have to have with marketing. Marketing is not sales. Marketing is branding that brand into people's brains. A lot of people don't realize branding comes from, if you're a cow, brand them, and it stays. You're searing that brand into people's brains, but you have to be able to connect with an audience, especially in a passion niche like the firearms industry. Yeah. So anyways, we opened a location in a really rough area of Clarksville, Tennessee, and bought my first handgun, got my carry permit. I was always into guns somewhat because I was born in Texas and raised in Tennessee, so go figure. But we get handed a rifle when we come out of the womb.
Right.
But
it's a little uncomfortable for your mom, but that's okay.
Yeah, it was a little rough on her. So anyways, I went to him and got that crash course in marketing and got the handgun permit. And when I learn anything, I dive in head first. Yeah. I total immersion. Yeah. I absorb everything I can. So I'm watching podcasts or listening to podcasts, watching YouTube, falling to sleep, listening to Hickok 45. And I love busting his chops and telling him that. I always used him for, insomnia issues. I just turn his videos on.
Hickok 45, cures insomnia.
But in the podcast realm, this is back 2010, 2011. There wasn't a whole lot of entertaining. It was like, hey, the new Glock 17 came out. It's chambered in 9mm, and we did the ballistic test, and here they are. And let me read this data sheet to you. And I'm like, oh, wow. And I listened to other podcasts in other worlds too, and I was kind of like, there needs to be an entertaining podcast that's also informative. Well, I was kind of new as a gun guy, not new into guns, but new as I'm a gun guy now. And my buddy Marty was into guns for a long time. And I called him up and I said, can we cuss on this podcast?
Yeah.
I'll say that.
No one watches it, so that's fine.
Okay, cool. So
we got a couple.
So I called Marty and I'm like, hey, man. And I was talking about a new gun I got. He's all excited. And I'm like, this is entertaining. This is good. I said, let's start a podcast. And the first thing he says is, what the fuck's a podcast? And that's how Talking Lead was born.
There you go.
So we started Talking Lead. Had Hickok 45 on our 4th episode.
Wow.
And after that, we were in 117.
It's all downhill after that.
117 countries were downloading our show.
Dude,
wow, we were the largest gun podcast in the world. We held the #1 outdoor ranking for almost a year.
Jeez.
And then we joined the Firearms Radio Network. And then we like shooting came along and all these other podcasts and just grew. And we all kind of grew together, did the YouTube thing. I ended up going to work for who is now my competitor, another online school that shall not be named. Absolutely. And so I went to work for them.
They were, they were a sponsor of ours.
Oh, were they?
No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, okay. How much I need? How much I need?
All right.
Well, that's what this bag is for. I put it in the bag and give it to you after.
Yeah,
okay,
gotcha.
Sorry.
So, no,
I got the small bag. I got to get the big bag out.
That's what makes this entertaining. It's being real, not
for
like,
sure.
Oh, here's my scripted question to you. Oh, well, we heard at a wedding. That was fun. That stuff, like Tonight Show type stuff. Right. Or James Corden, that little car riding.
I've heard of that one. Yeah.
The one thing that sits with me when you're saying all this is relationships.
Yes,
it's about relationships because like Charlie and I, we have our own show and we say, "Oh, you're a competitor," but then we're like, "Well, hey, why don't we do something together, different?"
Yeah,
it's all about relationships because we need the money to pay the bills, and that's nice, but what else are we here for? We can't take any of this shit to the grave with us.
Absolutely. So and doing stuff like this where you have your own shows or you have your own platforms and you're cross promoting, it benefits. Everybody rises to the top. It's that old adage of if you're pushing a bus to the top of a hill, the only people that get to hop on the bus and ride the other side down with you are the people that are pushing with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
that's great.
That's one of those things where stuff like this is awesome.
Absolutely.
So we ended up wanting to get into the industry. One of our sponsors was this other school, and I called them and I was like, "Hey, look, I want to work in the industry. I'm not passionate about what I'm doing. I like cars, but I'm not a car guy. So I didn't really know much about it, and it wasn't a real passion of mine. But I was really enjoying this podcast, and I loved that aspect of it. So they hired me on. 4 years later, I get a LinkedIn message from a casting agent. And I'm like, okay, this will be interesting. I'm gonna see what happens. And it was like a month and a half after they posted it that I got it, or that I saw it. It was there. And so I was like, they said, you want to be a gunsmithing judge on the show we're casting for? And I'm like, yeah, it'll never happen. Sure, I'll audition.
Sure, why not?
They send me a Skype link, and I auditioned via Skype. And they're like, great, yeah, that was awesome. And then like 2 days later, they called back, and they're like, wait, we found out you had YouTube and podcast and radio experience. I was like, yeah, why don't you be the host of the show? I'm like, in the same thought, I'm like, it's still not airing. Okay, whatever. And I think me just going, yeah, I think me not caring because I didn't think it was going to happen made me audition better because I just didn't. I'm like, whatever, this isn't going to happen.
Because you were real. You don't give a crap.
Right, exactly. And I was real with it. Exactly. I was just like, okay, this is who I am. If you want me, great. If you don't, great. Whatever you want to do. So 8 months later, we're filming the show Master of Arms for Discovery Channel.
That's awesome.
And we filmed it up in Pennsylvania. And even when we're filming it, Ashley Levinsky, who is one of the other judges, we're kind of like, is this ever going to go to air? They're just filming it. It'll never go to air. Sure enough, we got a full season out of it. It was a blast.
That's cool.
And then I had left the school I was with and spent a year out of the industry, marketing for the motorcycle industry. And came back because I missed this world. The gun world is a very
unique.
It's very unique. It's very a tight brotherhood.
Yep.
Scratch my back, I'll scratch yours.
Yeah, for sure.
But you screw up, you're done.
That's it.
You may hop around to 20 different companies over the next year, and then nobody wants you anymore.
Yeah, you see that. You see people jumping ship, going company to company.
Yeah, so seeing that loyalty and not seeing it in other worlds that I was involved in, I just kind of wanted to get back in. So I reached out to MGS and I said, hey, you want me to do for you what I did for the other school? And they said, absolutely. I said, well, I need to buy in. Next thing you know, I'm part owner at MGS. And we've been rocking and rolling for 5 years since I've been there. They actually started in 1946.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it came around to more of an online presence, I think, in the early 2000s, somewhere there. And my partner bought it in 2011, I believe, 2012. And then I became partners with him in 2020. And we grew, since 2019, we've grown 290-something odd %.
Wow,
so, yeah,
that's incredible.
We've got a really good growth rate. We've got a lot of good things going on. We're affordable. You know, you can get our entire program and it's our Advanced 2 program where you get a build kit, you get almost $1,400 worth of tools.
Jeez.
You get all the curriculum, everything for less than $6,000. And right now,
I was just going to say,
time.
I was just going to make a joke. I was going to be like, and do you have a discount?
Yeah, if you're watching live or if you're watching until the 31st of this month, we're doing a discounted tuition rate just because, the economy's looking like we've got a future again.
Amen.
Things have already bumped up. I've watched the stock market. I watched crypto. All that stuff is starting to creep back up. And kind of in a celebration, we're going to do, hey, here's a discounted rate. Reach out. The code is
Trump.
No, the code is MGS25.
Nice.
So 2025. So if you want to enroll, go. I mean, still, even if you don't get in, if you watch this after that, less than $6,000 for this education.
That's great.
With all the tools you need, because one of the things I always got from students at other places, they do their final build was an AR-15, 1911, whatever. And I'd get an email, Nito, I learned a lot. Nito, I built an AR-15. How the heck am I supposed to start a business with an AR-15? Because a lot of these people want to start their own gunsmithing shop.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, if somebody goes to auto diesel mechanic school, right, when they graduate, they have a pallet of tools. And they can go to any dealership, any body shop and say, hey, I'm ready to work. I got all my tools. And they're like, there's your stall. Go. Boom. No gunsmithing school, even brick and mortar schools. They're not doing that. So that was the very first thing I did. I said, we've got to get a toolkit together. So you get almost $1,400 worth of tools, bench grinders, belt sanders, all kinds of different things, all the tools you need to complete your task, your projects during the course.
That's great.
So
That's
it's a cool program.
So with that, run us through it a little bit. How would that work with something like somebody in a commie state like New York or Massachusetts where they can't have
it's $1,100 worth of tools.
Yeah.
So like in Massachusetts,
you get a screwdriver. I think maybe
you get screwed. What'd you say?
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. But it is. We have to. Wow, a giant Magpul mag just walked by like a mascot.
Wow,
I missed it.
I wish you had a camera facing that way too. It was probably 8 foot tall, but it was like a mascot uniform. but it was a Magpul mag. That was crazy.
Great.
Yeah. You can't help but talk
never
about
know
that.
what
Gotta
to see
be a
at SHOT Show.
What were we talking about?
We were talking about the tools.
Yeah. Okay. Massachusetts, New York.
Yeah.
So we have to keep up with all the new laws. You know, once a month, I'm always checking each state legislation that's coming through, gun laws. Thank God in our industry, there's a lot of websites that do it for you. You know, and they'll post new stuff that's coming through. So I'll do a little run through every month. And Massachusetts was the most recent one that it was just like, bam, here's one, bam, here's another one, here's another one. And I'm like, we can't even teach students there anymore.
Yeah.
You know,
here's a slingshot. No, sorry about that.
Like we can still teach there, but the only build you would be able to get in Massachusetts is our Traditions muzzleloader.
Wow.
So that's your only option.
Sounds like New York's probably like that too.
I think New York, if you get y'all got a magazine capacity.
We do.
10. Okay, so you could do the Glock as long as, and you could do the 1911 too.
Yep.
I think. So you could do the Glock as long as you get a state legal magazine. Oh. So with the Glock build we get through, I can't say Glock. Sorry. Scratch that. Anybody that heard that, delete it from your brain. It's a Lone Wolf Firearms striker fire pistol.
Gotcha.
And you can get that. We don't send a magazine with it for that reason. California has a magazine limit.
Right.
You know, New York, all these states that have a magazine limit. We're like, you have to get your own magazine. That's on you.
Right. There's only so much you can do. Right.
Yeah. But yeah, Massachusetts, I think the only thing y'all can do is that muzzleloader build.
Wow. It's even worse than New York.
It's unbelievable. Yeah. So one of the things that we have in Massachusetts is this nonsense bill that got signed last year. You can't import. You can't have something shipped in. Like you can't buy a lower. Yeah. Like you can't buy a strip lower from anybody because it wasn't in the state beforehand. So
wow.
Yeah. So it's not. Yeah.
Yeah. That's depressing.
Do I hear a machine gun?
I think so. I'm probably a game. I'm thinking it's a game. No, real quick too. Weren't you going to be like? They're going to make a movie out of you, Zeus of Gods or something. What was that?
What?
Yeah, you said like
you're talking
He-Man
about the Hercules thing?
The Hercules,
yeah. So
Zeus, whatever. Teenage Ninja Turtle. That has no idea.
I was a huge comic book fan growing up. Huge comic book fan. And it was funny because I was always the kid getting bullied and made fun of. And then I shot up to 6'4" and I could throw this little bouncy ball through a metal hoop. And they're like, "You're cool now." And I'm like,
I've always been cool.
I was a nerd that read comic books. Now that I'm tall and athletic, I'm cool. And so that pissed me off even worse.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know, at first there was a little bit of, I'm like, wait.
Yeah.
You didn't like me
just
before.
because of this thing.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I can be cool. No. Anyways, so comic book nerd. I always dreamed, but even before Marvel started putting out Marvel movies, of seeing Marvel movies and being in one. Well, if anybody is a Marvel fan, you can go look at the Hercules comic books.
Yep.
And this is what he looked like. And so I was like, I don't have the muscles, but they can fix that with neoprene, right? and they could do CGI muscles on me or whatever.
Now they can, for sure.
And so I thought that was going to happen. I talked to some people in that industry, and there was a lot of people hyping it like, oh, we're going to get you that meeting with Marvel. And then, of course, when the show got canceled, it was just like crickets.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, okay. And then next thing you know, the new Thor comes out, and the dude from Ted Lasso, the skinny British guy, is playing Hercules. I'm like, what the hell?
Right. Yeah.
That's right. You'll always be our Hercules.
You were robbed. You were robbed.
Oh, man. Gosh. I didn't know this was like Oprah where you're going to make me cry.
And there's one for you, and there's one for you.
Yeah. Y'all give out presents and make me cry.
Friends
pretty soon we're going to start beating each other with chairs. Yeah. So whatever we need to do.
That's Jerry Springer. You got the wrong show.
Yeah, wrong we'll get all these people to start going, Jerry.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Pressers.
We'd say riding. Yeah. That's a different show too.
It's the OnlyFans channel, but that's
for sure. So what else? What's on the horizon?
Outside of the gun world, let me rewind. So gun world, I got MGS. That's my main gig. That's where I make my bread and butter. I'm partnered in a new company called Frytech. We have the utility patent on using magnets to reduce recoil.
Really?
Yeah. So our first prototype is a buffer tube for an AR-15.
Okay.
We can make an AR-15 feel like a BB gun.
Wow.
It's actually kind of weird. Like the first time I shot it, the first time you shoot a can, and you don't hear much, you're kind of like,
What just happened?
What did I do?
Off?
Yeah, and you have that weird. Your mind knows you shot it, but your body has. It's the same thing with this. Like I shot it, and it felt like a squib load. I don't know if y'all ever had a squib load. It was just kind of like and I was like, wait, I heard the bang. I see a hole in the paper downrange.
What's going on?
And so then I shot it again. I'm like, oh my God, this is unreal. And it's Newton's third law, right? With magnets, whatever you give them, they give you back equal, right? So the bigger the caliber, and there's more physics to it. I'm dumbing this down major because for higher calibers, you need bigger, stronger magnets. But the higher the caliber, the more recoil reduction you're going to get. So I'll show you all a video afterwards. I'll have to dig it out where my partner, the inventor of it, he's shooting a 12 gauge AR, and it's going flat back. Wow! There's no rise to it at all.
That's some
ingenuity. And it's going to be a game changer. We've had people say in the military space, this will be a lifesaver.
Absolutely.
Just because you're going to be able to stay on target as you're shooting and military not have all this muzzle rise.
For sure.
So it's really super exciting. We're kind of in our infancy stages. We've got prototypes. We've got the patent. That's why I can talk about it.
That's awesome.
It's one of those things where it's like, people are like, well, what if somebody sees it or hears about it and they try to reduce recoil with magnets? I'll be like, I'll knock on the door and go, can I have my check? No, you can keep doing it. Go ahead, but we need our check.
Right. We'd like a taste of the action.
Yes.
Zeus is here.
Right.
Exactly. That's what I'll do.
For sure.
I'll just walk in and go, Zeus is here.
You'll be
y'all will have to come get me out of the loony bin.
Right.
But I'll do it.
You'll be LARPing. You'll LARP your way to the bank.
As they got me handcuffed in a straight jacket, I'll be like, call me depressors. They said to do it.
Check the tape. Check the tape.
So that's really awesome.
Yeah,
I'm looking
really
forward
fun.
to hearing. That's something revolutionary in the industry
really
for sure.
And it's something that our industry needs. We have some of the greatest engineering minds in the world in our industry.
Yes.
And guess what we pop out every SHOT Show? Here's a new AR-15.
Yeah. Yeah, it's different color.
Yeah.
Right. It's been Cerakoted.
If you'd have told me 12 years ago when I got in this industry that I would have seen a new AR-15 at SHOT Show and rolled my eyes, I probably would have laughed at you because I loved AR-15s.
Yeah,
I still love AR-15s.
You help people build them.
I want my laser gun. I want my space gun.
Yeah.
I want cool, new, innovative. Why can cars and planes and all these other mechanically engineered things keep going up and up and up? And our gun world is just kind of like, here's a new AK, here's a new AR, here's a new AK, here's a new AR. Oh wait, you like striker fire pistols? We got those too, you know.
Or the newer technology making the guns biometrics, where you got to rub this, give some DNA sample, stand on one foot, and rub your belly to get it to fire, kind of thing.
That would be cool to do a competition with.
That would not be cool to try to save your life with.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So we're getting down there. We got 5 minutes left before our next guest come in. So what is the other business?
My other business is not gun related at all, except for the name. The name I kind of pulled from the military guy. If y'all have heard of the term Dilligaff, right? It's, do I look like I give a
fudge?
Thank you. I didn't want to offend anybody.
That's all right. That's right. We dropped it earlier.
I did. I don't want to offend anybody twice.
Oh, there we go.
That's the key.
Once you can. I guess my son was telling me this. You can say the F word in a PG movie once, but if you say it twice, then it becomes rated R.
PG-13.
Really?
Rated R. Jumps to rated R. Wow.
Wow.
Okay.
I didn't know that. That's
crazy. So I'm still PG right now.
Good.
Okay. Right. Cool. So. Dilligaff, do I look like I give a fudge? My son made his high school golf team.
Okay.
And I started taking him to play golf more. Well, golf's expensive, you know, whether it's the green fees or the clubs, and he's wanting new shoes and gloves. And I'm like, well, in the gun industry, when we started talking lead, we did the LLC, we trademarked stuff, and then we were able to write off guns, ammo, trips, all this other stuff. I'm like, I'll do it with the golf world just for the heck of it, just so I can have this time with my son and do this. So I created Dilla Golf. Do I look like I golf? Because I don't. You might be able to think now because I'm in a suit, but I've got full sleeve tattoos. At the time, I had long hair, and the big beard and all that stuff. Oh, and I'm 6'7", so not a whole lot of 6'7".
Yeah, there's that, right?
Yeah,
for sure.
So started Dilla Golf. I trademarked the name, made an LLC. I'm like, we'll do this for thing. Maybe since I trademarked the name, maybe I'll launch some hats or clothing line or whatever down the road and try to make some money. It's now been 5 months. And on YouTube, I'm over 10,000 subscribers.
Wow.
I'm like, what just happened? That took me like 2 years in the gun
industry for sure.
So there's a part of me that's excited. And I'm like, wow, that's huge growth. That's really fast. but part of me that's kind of pissed off.
Yeah, for sure. Because the industry is so suppressed.
Right. It's like, so you're trying to tell me that you don't squash gun content.
Yeah.
But I had gun content. And it took me 2 years to get to 10,000 subscribers. I did it in 4 to 5 months now because it's golf.
Yeah. Yeah. Different.
And I'm kind of like, all right, but I'm rocking with it. And it's been weird because there was a part of me, y'all know as well as I do. When you work in this industry, you get on an airplane, you sit next to somebody, they're like, hey, what do you do for a living? You get one of two things.
Yep.
You get, oh, cool.
Or
you get headphones go on and I pull out my book.
I'd like another seat.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
I need another seat. He scares me.
I total aside, I met a woman through Facebook Marketplace. I was going to buy a GoPro from her. So I meet her and she's like, so what do you do with the camera? She's trying to show me how to use it. I'm like, I got one already. She's like, oh, I said, I have, I have an interview show, make videos. And she's like, what do you make videos of? I'm like, porn.
Did you really?
Yeah, I did.
Like, I got an OnlyFans page. You want to see?
Right. And I said, she's like, and so I'm like, I'm just kidding. I said, I interview people and we talk about stuff. And she's like, oh, what do you talk about? Porn. That's what, like I went from filming porn to talking about porn. I'm like, no, we talk about guns. And then immediately she's like, they should be harder to get. She's like, I'm a high school teacher. I got 7 kids that can go buy a handgun right now. I'm like, not legally.
Right, not legally.
Yeah.
Bad guys will do it illegally for sure.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it's a wild world, but just the fact that I was able to do that outside of the gun world, and I've done it in the gun world. I'm like, yeah, you're absolutely suppressing content.
For sure.
It's been a weird thing because of that whole airplane conversation.
Yep.
I was a little skeptical. Okay, when I talk to people in the golf industry, are they going to be receptive? Apparently, the golf world is extremely conservative and a lot of super pro gun people.
That's good.
And I'm like, sweet. Then you throw in the name that is very tied in with military because Dillagaff came from, drill instructors. Oh, I'm sick. My belly hurts.
Yeah. Do I look like I give
Yeah, exactly. So Dillagaff became a thing. So the military guys are like, oh, dude, I love it. And, there's all these organizations for veterans and active duty members playing golf to benefit their PTSD.
For sure.
And I'm like, wow, okay, this is kind of a good tie-in with what I do for a living. And so it's kind of taken off. I'm actually negotiating clothing brands with some manufacturers. I want to keep it U.S. Made. Unfortunately, it's going to make it more expensive, but the quality is pretty high of the stuff that I'm looking at.
Well, that's the thing. It's got to, it's got to have that happy medium because if the clothing's crappy, then nobody's going to want it. And then if it's really expensive, then your market's going to be smaller. It's got to have that middle of the road kind of fit as many of the spectrum as possible.
Yeah. On the spectrum, what?
Well, that I'm on the spectrum.
I think we all are kind of
at some point.
I want to know this from you guys. I know we got like 3 minutes, or we've gone over.
We're waiting on the next guest, John Correia. We're live, so get over here, Johnny boy.
Yeah, because we know he's watching.
So for me, I was never an extrovert. I was never an out there person. Starting that podcast, I just wanted to learn more about guns. And I'm like, hey, join me on my journey. Me and Marty are dummies. Watch us be dummies learning about guns. Of course, we learn more and more and more. I even got a certificate as a firearms expert.
Nice.
And, it was therapeutic for me going through that because I kind of came out of my shell.
That's
and
awesome.
then having the TV show, because I can interact with people, hundreds of thousands, millions, whatever. And I don't actually have to be like this talking to them.
Yeah.
And so it was very therapeutic and kind of helped me in business too, being able to talk to people and just, for lack of a better term, not give a shit.
Do you feel that the like you said you're picked down when you were younger? Do you feel that plays any part in it? As far as
I think so. Yeah, absolutely.
I always wonder, with things like that, like trauma and stuff as kids, or somebody sexually abused turns gay or and whatnot. I'm always curious as far as like how our life ends up because of things that have happened.
It's worked out pretty well for you, Matt.
The best part, it was like every 80s bully movie ever.
Oh my god!
When I had the TV show, like people used to bully the crap out of me on the bus and stuff. Started reaching out on Facebook. Hey man, that's so cool. I'm like dude, you haven't talked to me in 30 years.
Yeah, you just want
and
something.
when you did talk to me, you threatened to kick my ass on the bus.
Right.
And now we're buddies because I had a TV show.
Now you just show them your Thor hammer.
Oh, an actual hammer. Oh, okay. I thought we were using a euphemism. My bad.
Could be both.
See, I've been trying to tell Charlie this ride along in his car is going to be very interesting.
I think it'll be great.
Wait. I gotta find. I actually, you ready for this? So I have a work vacation in February, and I'm like, I looked at coming to Memphis for about 3 days, and it was going to be about, I don't know, $1,500 or so.
Here's the best thing. Well, you could stay with us. I've got a little in-law suite in the house.
Look at that.
Place to stay. So you can cut that down a little bit by the hotel at least. But the best thing about Memphis is if you see a car chase, we'll follow them. Because they've got the best drop guns. Like they'll throw out staccatos and stuff.
Really?
And so we just follow the car chase.
Wow.
Hopefully the cops don't see the gun caught. And we got a brand new $3,000 gun. You know?
All right. So all right, $1,500, get a $3,000 gun for free.
Boom.
Serial number scratched off. I don't have to, since the serial number scratched off, I don't have to.
This is going to be on public thing. The serial number is intact, and it is a legally obtained gun. They just dropped it out of the car on accident.
Finders keepers,
car chase.
Losers.
Yes,
so exactly. Funny. You'll like this one. I had I sent a Glock 17 down to that area to get converted into a Glock 18.
You've told me this one.
I did tell you this one.
But keep going.
They sent it back to me. It didn't show up in the box right overnight, but it showed up 2 days later with an empty box. And I just got a call from Memphis PD saying they found it. And I'm thinking, how did you find it? And it's like, serial number. They didn't scratch serial number off. They're that dumb. They didn't scratch serial number. Which, thank you. Yeah. That's a $1,700 full auto Glock 17 that I, am out for a year thinking I'm never going to see it. USPS denied the claim.
Yeah.
So thank God they found it. Now we just got to wait to see if it's been used in a crime.
Yeah. Hopefully it hasn't, because you'll get it back. Maybe.
Yeah. Right. If it hasn't, if it doesn't, if it doesn't show up with forensics, then we're good.
All right.
I'm getting booted.
Yes, check out MGS Trade School. And Zeke, thank you so much for being on, man. Always a pleasure.
Man.
The pleasure's mine, man.
Don't you love the handshakes at the end of shows? It's
I do.
so awkward.
I hate it when my hand comes in like this and they start too early. And I'm like, I feel like a wimp. All right. You guys, stay tuned. We are going to be right back with Neil Weidner and John Correia from Active Self-Protection.
And we're back.
All right, we are back. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome back to the Meet the Pressers Riding Shotgun with Charlie live show from the SHOT Show in Las Vegas 2025. We have us two of the most handsome men in the gun community.
Wow, lies.
I know, right?
One of the most handsome.
One of the most handsome. And look, we got...
Neil.
And
yeah, I get it.
We have Neil Weidner and John Correia from Active Self-Protection. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being on. Thank you for taking the time.
Oh, glad to be here, man. Good to see you guys.
Good to see you.
It's good to be seen. Good to see you guys.
I'm envious, like the beards and the wavy hair, and
well, maybe you should grow that.
I probably should.
I mean, Matt, listen, I didn't even know I had curly hair. I just let it grow. So when's the last time you grew your hair?
I usually shave away the gray is what I do.
Just let it go. This is 2 years. I haven't had a haircut in 2 years.
Really?
Yeah. A little more. 2 years and 3 months.
2 years and 3. You need to let it grow. You are one can of Just for Men away from your prime, Matt. So
probably correct.
Totally.
Guys, it's awesome. Always awesome to hang out with you guys. You're doing revolutionary things in the industry. Trying to keep people safe and alive and break down what doesn't work and what does work. So it's awesome.
Yeah, it's a labor of love. It's a lot of labor, though, let me tell you.
Yeah, for sure.
I would say working for yourself. You guys know this well.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
You only work half days.
Sure.
You choose. Do you want to work the first 12 hours of the day or the second 12 hours of the day?
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah. So how did all this, the Active Self-Protection come to be about? I used to love it when you say, cover your ass. I always thought that was great, and I thought that was funny.
That was just that's just a running joke, right? I'm going to just grab this because these are fun.
Go right ahead.
The genesis of the company, at its very core, I started Active Self-Protection to write off ammo. Because I was starting to train, and I started concealed carrying, realized fairly quickly that if I was going to carry a gun, I should be competent with it, which meant going beyond my CCW class, started taking some classes, started shooting at the range a good bit. That got expensive. So then I was like, well, gosh, man, I got to find a way to write this off. And so I'm a teacher at my core, teaching to my core competency. So I went and got some instructor certs so that I could write off ammo. And that was the basis of Active Self-Protection. Now, the social media side was originally just to try to get some folks in classes. But then I was pastoring a church. I pastored for about 14 and a half years. And as you might imagine, for the pastor of a church, some people did not love their pastor talking about gun stuff.
No.
And that makes sense to me. And so I would catch some grief from the blue-haired ladies who were frustrated about me posting about gun stuff on Facebook. So I started a company Facebook page just to get that stuff away from my personal Facebook so that I wasn't catching that grief.
Sure.
And then it just kind of lit up from there. It was doing good, and then it started performing well, and then people started sending me videos of real encounters, and so I was like, wow, that was really interesting. I took that to my martial arts school one night to just say, hey, how do we defend against this? And then use that to get better. And then so I posted it online and like, hey, here's some things we used to get better on that post, and people were really excited about that. And then one day, where the aha moment was, somebody sent me a video that was 5 minutes long that was like 30 seconds of action. So I had to cut off the first 4.5 minutes of it, and I had editing software, Adobe Premiere, on my laptop, but I didn't know how to use it. And so to the Googles, right?
That's it.
So I YouTubed how to use Adobe Premiere, and in the basic tutorial I watched, it was like, hey, if you want to record audio over an existing video clip, here's how you do it. And I was like, huh. Well, if I recorded audio over it, maybe I add some arrows and stuff like that, and I could be like the John Madden of on-camera violence. And I tried it, and it worked. And nobody else was doing it, and nobody had done it, so I started doing it. People responded to it well. And here we are now. We've got 4,000 of them published. I've been doing it a decade.
That's unbelievable, man.
That is unbelievable.
Unbelievable. It's so your background, you've been a minister, you were in the Navy for a while?
I was in Uncle Sam's Canoe Club, where I made hot water the hard way. The hardest way to make hot water is to split atoms. But you can make a lot of it, and you don't have to get more gas often. So I watched the rock get hot. I was an electronics technician, nuclear reactor operator, 3383 for anybody who understands the old NECs. So yeah, I got out as an E6. I was in from 95 to 02. And that was my first real big boy job, was in the Navy. But I didn't learn nothing about self-defense in the Navy. I didn't learn nothing about guns in the Navy. There was no Kung Fu. There's no Navy martial arts program.
Did you get to sail the 7 seas?
I did not. I was in the Navy for almost 8 years, and I did 7 days at sea.
Wow.
7 days away from the pier in a seagoing rate. It's a long story, but I went nowhere and did nothing in my time in the U.S. military.
Wow. Yeah. All right. So, because to me, I mean, we're all instructors, and I'm the one that's slumming it with the certificates with you guys. But we're all instructors, and people always think that the police know what they're talking about and the military know what they're talking about. And it's nothing against the police or the military, right? But you've got that credential, so people think you're a guru.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess I'll say that most cops, let me just be real, most cops have significantly more firearms training than most private citizens.
Yeah. Okay.
So your average private citizen might maybe have an 8-hour class, depending on what state you live in.
Sure.
I live in Arizona, man. You could carry a gun, smoke them if you got them. There's no permit. There's none of that stuff. Constitutional carry. More than half the nation is. So most cops have at least 40 hours of instruction on the range, which for most private citizens is a lot.
Yep.
Does that mean that they're knowledgeable? No. I've had more than 40 hours of firearms instruction in the last calendar year as a student, let alone as an instructor. So, and the military, I always ask folks this. Okay. I was in from 95 to 02. What percentage, and so after 9/11, I was active duty on 9/11.
Yep.
And we went to war right afterwards. We've been going to war for 20 years since then. And what percentage of Marines earned the combat action ribbon in that time? Combat action ribbon means that they have been shot at. That's what it means. Your unit was in active firefight. About 1%. So even those of us who were in the military who did kick indoors and shoot people in the face were about 1% of the active duty military force at any given time. So it's a very small number of people who did that operation. Nothing but respect to the people who did. Yeah. But the vast majority of us did not. And so that can be a qualification, but it's not a necessary one. And so,
being a current police officer myself and being an instructor for law enforcement, I can say that I've been muzzled many times, and usually the civilian aspect of it, they're a lot more cautious with the guns and telling civilians, like, if you get pulled over, and you probably had these in some of the videos you've gone through, you get pulled over and the officer wants to take the gun off you or ask you to handle the gun, be like, officer, I'll do whatever you want me to do. I'm new to handling guns, or tell me the safest way to do it. Let them direct it, but try to educate them a little bit on it, because they pull it out and start. I've seen videos where they start clearing the gun and pointing it right at the person.
Gosh. Yeah, you're like Meatloaf. I'll do anything you want, but
don't shoot me. Yeah.
It's interesting that you bring that up, because there's one of these coming soon, because this thing just happened. Where was that at? Down in Jacksonville, Florida, where the officer goes to take the gun off of the dude and shoots him with his own gun.
Oh, yeah. This was like 2 days ago?
Yeah.
Finger right on the trigger.
And so, because of the nature of what we do, people send us videos all the time.
Yeah.
My inbox has that about 200 times. So if you're watching this, I got it. John's got it. We're going to do it as quick as we can. Of course, there's a schedule. We're here all week. But those are the kind of things that really scare me, in that, there's a lot of good people out there. We have to pass a background check to get a CCW. We have to do a little bit of training. We have to go through a lot of that stuff. So it always kind of makes my hind end itch a little when law enforcement wants to take a gun off of somebody that is clearly a good guy. And so accidents happen, and so we got to be really, really careful about that.
And I think on that level, there's so much discretion given to law enforcement to be able to kind of do things on their own, because everybody's their own person and everybody carries tools on their belt in certain ways. Some agencies will have an SOP with that, but the majority of it's like, hey, just do it, be safe, stay alive, and go back to your family. So I think in a lot of cases it's like, okay, what do I do at that point? Well, I'm not going to call my sergeant because he's sleeping at night. So what do I think's the safest way to do it? You get Duke Green rookie out of the academy who first time touching a gun is usually the ones that get on road patrol.
And not, very likely something bad is going to happen. So taking the steps to avoid that.
For sure.
I think there's lots of options there. And we used to, when we first kind of started doing the firearms training, we would joke a little bit about some cops don't shoot so well. However, if cops pay for a class with their own money, you can be guaranteed they will be the best shooters and the most safe people in a class. I'm having this conversation with somebody in the comments today. I hope they're watching too. Just because you're a cop doesn't mean that the department is 100% responsible for your training. You can go get training. And it's not cheap, but it's not wildly expensive. And so, every person here takes our own responsibility of getting better at what we do. I've taken classes with you, Charlie. You're a darn good shooter.
Look, we've taken classes together, but you came in second.
I know.
Okay.
We did.
Nice.
It wasn't the Charlie.
You're number 2, Neil.
Right.
I think it was Charlie that shot my target just to mess my thing up.
Wow.
That's for a whole nother podcast.
Right. For sure. Yeah. It's I've had law enforcement in my classes, and those are the ones, right? They're spending the money, they're taking their private time off, maybe even sick time. I won't go there, but taking time off work, they're taking time away from their family, they're spending their money, and their agency's not reimbursing them for it. Maybe they'll give them ammo, but sometimes that isn't even the case. So it's those are the ones that realize, listen, I'm going out there. The most dangerous thing in law enforcement is traffic stops and domestic violence. So you go to a DV or a traffic stop, you don't know what you're up against. Tinted windows, and then the next legal that came over the border doesn't want to go back home.
Right.
You don't know.
For sure. Let me ask you guys this. So you said something a few years ago online that where you said you get you try for 100 hours of instruction as a student, which is unbelievable. I think I only did that in 21 when we did the Mag 40 class, but because I was like, well, if this is what John Correia's doing, man, and this is what Neil's doing, I got to try to do this too, right? But I'm like, well, let's be realistic. I have a job, right? I can't do this all the time. So that year, I think I did about 100 hours with a bunch of other classes I did.
Amazing year.
Yeah, totally. When you guys walk into a class, if there's a gun instructor who's a gun guy, he's going to look at your guys' names and be like, wait, John, there's got to be other John Correias that are taking a class, right?
Well, so one, I think a good instructor can learn from anyone.
Amen. And
so we don't show up to classes going, oh, we're a big deal, blah, blah. First of all, you start swimming in one of the advanced classes and you realize I ain't that good. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's a problem, right? You go to the classes where somebody can really shoot. Yeah. Somebody's a master, even a high A class shooter, and you're like, wow, I suck at this. Okay, and so you start swimming in some of those ponds. But B, there's different aspects. So I got literally about 400 hours this last year.
Wow.
Now some of that was me being stupid, to be honest with you, because Stephanie and Carrie and I took Force Sciences Advanced Force Science Specialist class, and that was 350 by itself.
Yeah.
And it killed me. It murdered me. Now, it's not in a handgun class. That was a use of force analyst class. It's brutal how much work that was. But when I had a real job, when I was pastoring, I left vocational ministry in 2018. I always say, look, if you can get a weekend every year, you're doing great. If you get 1 day, 8 hours a year, you're so far ahead of the average person. You are literally a light year ahead of everybody else.
I got a monkey on my back.
How you doing, guys? Me too.
Hey, Clint.
I'd crash the party and say hello.
Yeah.
Good to see you, man.
Good to see you.
So, you don't got to get 100. 100 is stupid. 100 is, for somebody who is in the industry full-time as a professional, this is part of my job.
Oh, sure.
So, and I mean, don't get me wrong. I know people think, well, John, you only work like 10 minutes a day because I watch you on YouTube for 10 minutes a day. No, it's a 65-hour-a-week business.
Yeah.
I joked earlier, again, you work half days, pick the first 12 hours, the second 12 hours. But at the same time, I have to stay that sharp because of the job. And Neil, as a master firearms instructor, the guy that runs our training, he has to stay that. But for your average person, I would prefer that they practice regularly, have a great dry practice, habit.
It's good.
Do a day or two of class a year. And heck, if I had my druthers, I don't know what you'd say, Neil. Do like 1 day and then 6 months later do another day and practice in between them. I think you'd be doing better.
Oh, sure. I really think that having a professional instructor teach you what to do and give you the technique, and then spending 6 months working on that in your dry fire routine,
smart,
right?
And then taking another class is going to be head and shoulders better than taking 2 classes or 2-day class and then do nothing for the next 12 months.
Right.
You're still going to be head and shoulders above the normies, but you're not really improving on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Sure. I tell people when they take class with me, we talk about the police, and they say, police aren't necessarily gun guys. There's pro-gun guys, non-gun guys, and anti-gun police, right? So I said, listen, you can have all the cool high-end training. My line is, you can learn how to golf from Tiger Woods. Yep. If you golf once or twice a year, you're gonna suck.
That's 100% true.
That's a great analogy.
Like you can learn from the best of the best, and if you don't go home and practice it,
I'm stealing that, by the way.
Thank you.
And I think I think the depth of just practicing with the gun has to be deeper than that, right? We have to practice mindset, which you alluded to that with the class. We have to practice less lethal tools because what's the chances? I think, John, we were talking before as far as like 80% of violent encounters or 80% of encounters are simple assaults, right? Yep. You can't use a gun. 20% you might. I actually poll some of my students and I'll ask them, I say, listen, I don't want PTSD or anything, so if you don't want to answer this, you don't have to, but feel comfortable. Who in here has ever had a situation where they legally wouldn't have been able to use a gun against somebody that tried to hurt them or kill them? And hardly anybody puts their hands up. Every once in a while, one hand, very rarely 2 hands, and then very rarely one has 2 encounters. And I'm like, what percentage is that? And it's very low compared to getting in a verbal altercation with somebody, pepper spraying somebody, tasing somebody. So the likelihood of you carrying a gun and needing it is very slim, but you're here for that because you see it and it's valuable. But what else do you carry? Right, pepper spray, tasers, stun guns, stuff like that is and mindset, right? Just so you don't even have to be in that situation.
Yeah, and I think the mindset goes further yet for me. Is mindset in my dry practice is I talk to people that are like, well, I sit in front of my TV and I pull the trigger, and that's my dry fire routine. And I don't. How are you improving? What are you using to measure your improvement? What are you doing? What is it you're trying to get out of that? If you're trying to learn what your trigger feels like, you're going to figure that out in one episode of Law and Order. And it's not a great place to do dry fire, So
that's your TV.
Yeah, we've got the Ask for Dry Fire Challenge group on Facebook. About 5,000 people in that.
That's great.
And I run monthly. It's free. Come join us. It's a good time. We do challenges, give stuff away, every couple of months. But because I run that, people share with me their issues or their stories. And I've heard 31 stories of NDs in people's homes while they were in dry fire.
Wow.
And using your wife's brand new refrigerator for dry fire target is a bad idea.
Yeah.
I'll just say that.
Did they
a little not so dry.
Yeah, that's not
right. How many of them were wearing their brown pants when they did this?
Yeah, after
they all were wearing it afterwards.
Yeah.
Every one of them.
I'll always say, you can sit in your house and dry fire. You can shoot at doorknobs, light switches, or pictures of relatives on the wall you don't like, and just make sure whoever's on the other side of that wall, there's nobody there. You've cleared the gun. Go through that when you dry fire, and then even have that that response like Mantis offers. Next Level Training, sponsors of our show, where you can actually use tools to see where that shot is, so you're doing it right. You're not building bad training scars. That's crucial. So.
Yeah, I just think it's important to take that mindset into our practice, and that dry fire is not just pulling the trigger. Yeah. Dry fire is the whole thing. You've got to learn how to draw the gun. You've got to learn how to get it back in the holster safely. There's so much more to it than just pulling the trigger. And when I first started shooting, specifically pistols, everybody told me, Neil, you just have to dry fire. I didn't know what that meant.
Oh, yeah.
So I thought, okay, yeah, I'm just going to sit here and pull the trigger. Well, this is really fun. I'm not learning anything.
Or it'll hurt your gun, won't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, man. That generation.
Yes.
My dad was pretty sure I was going to ruin every gun that I had, and I'm like, well, I only dry fire with one of them. So if I break it, I break it.
You know, this is shocking. They sell them. Yeah. You can break it. Yeah. They sell them.
I buy a new one. Yeah,
right.
It's it's not
if you can get it at the store, you'll be all right.
Yep.
Well, and we also say, imagine if you wanted to learn to play golf, right? So you took a lesson from Tiger Woods, cool, and then you go to the range and you're like, so what are you going to work on? I don't know. I'm just going to hit balls.
Yeah.
Well, what are you working on? Yeah. You're going to work on your short game. You're going to work on your long game. You're going to work on weird lies. What are you working on? I don't know. Well, you're not going to get better if you don't have a plan.
You got to have a plan.
You got to have a plan and then do the plan. Do the thing. So if it's 5 minutes a day of dry practice, cool. This 5 minutes today on Mondays, I work on draw. On Wednesdays, I work on target transitions. On Fridays, I work on low ready presentations. Whatever it is, having a plan and some objective standards to work on, because otherwise you're just wasting time.
Yeah.
And
sure.
I don't know about you. I work too much to waste time. My wife has this nasty habit of wanting me to actually spend quality time with her.
Oh, I know that feeling.
She's so demanding that she wants to see me almost every day I'm home. My children, my kids are all grown, but they all have this nasty habit of wanting to see dad every once and again.
Right.
I have hobbies and things like that, so I don't have time to waste. And so having that regimented practice, that's I'm just going to get in, get my 5 to 10 minutes done, and get out of here. Now, are you going to become a GM level shooter on 10 minutes of practice 3 days a week? No, but you don't got to be a GM to win a gunfight.
Right. There we go.
But I'd rather be at least tolerable. I'd rather at least be reasonably good. And if we could get everybody, I love the idea that somebody says, listen, if I could get everybody to the level of a varsity high school athlete, I mean, is a varsity high school athlete a high level player? Not by anybody's grand scheme of things, but they have practiced and played an awful lot in reality of things. So 280 hours of practice for the average high school athlete to get to the varsity level.
Really?
280 hours total of practice and 84 hours of game time.
Wow.
So if I could get the average person to have a grand total lifetime of 284 hours of dry practice, which will take them about 10 years, and then go to the range 84 hours, 84 range sessions, if they did that 4 times a year, is going to take them 10 years.
Wow.
So guess what? If I could get the average concealed carrier in a decade to be a varsity player, man, that'd be a great thing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the last year was probably my most. I must have heard it from you because I or maybe from Charlie through you, but or through Charlie from you. I do try to do 100 hours a year under another instructor as an instructor, and I tell my students that I'm like, okay, you're doing 18 hours with me in the 18-hour class to get your pistol license here in New York State. Said, and I tried to do 100. Well, last year I did, I think, 565 hours. Woo! And a lot of it was law enforcement classes I wanted to take, and I bumped up some things there. But it was a lot. And this year I'm doing reality-based training instructor for law enforcement coming up when we get back from this. So this year won't be as much as last year, but it's still going to be a lot. It's just about getting out there. And if I go to one class and I learn something new, then it's a success. If I go to a class and I learn just a different way to say something or teach something, Masada Ayub, Tom Givens, I've taken those classes. So just to be able to get that knowledge and and taking classes from other instructors is it's a good way to network as well.
Well, and you might find you take a couple classes and you might go, this is fun, and then you become what we call a training junkie.
Yeah,
and I'm guilty. I don't go to gun school necessarily to learn. I go to gun school because my friends are there.
Yeah.
And we're going to go hang out for a weekend and have fun.
Very true.
And you're going to learn something along the way.
And I'm going to learn something along the way. So I get benefits from that. I'm not saying everybody has to do that, okay? But it sure ends up, if you want to become a training junkie, come on, there's always room. We'd love that. Yeah. More people, more better.
Absolutely.
Fill up classes, and then I look and I go, dang, I can't spend any money this week because all of you showed up to it. Oh, well. But just start with one and see what happens.
So to round it out, we're getting close to the end here. What do you guys got going on in the future, quick? And also, how can people find out about you? And
well, so we've decided for 2025, active self-protection is each of our senior cadre. We have really kind of 5 of us in our senior group are leaning into their strengths, leaning into the very best of them. So that means for me, unfortunately, that I'm not going to get to teach handgun as much as I'd like to this year. I'd never say this to him. But in reality, Neil's probably a little better at this than I am in the handgun instruction. I'd never tell him that. And so he's doing.
You know what it's really true? when he gives you a pay raise. That's when you know
it's never going to be true.
Oh,
it's never going to be true. The crazy part is that, you know, as our chief marketing officer, he can make himself pay raise any one time he wants.
It's like, I didn't know that.
More sponsors.
Yeah, but so then I'm taking more cases than I've ever taken.
Yeah.
So
I'm
a court-admitted expert. Right now I have 5 cases that I'm working right now, which is a lot. So I'm leaning more into that. Stephanie leaning more into her mental management piece and her neuro-linguistic programming and those things that she's so good at.
That's awesome.
Carrie is our instructor of instructors. Chris Bean is our, he's a mental management master. And so everybody leaning into that and doing what they're best at is what we're doing. So we're going to probably go take a couple classes this year, at least one that I've got, 2 I've got on my radar, one on body-worn camera analysis and another one on advanced methods of teaching. So we're working in that direction. But for me, I'm just trying to stay above water with court stuff. We're learning so much. There's so much to bring back to the world from actual court cases that you got to be careful. You know this well. You know, living in this world that edge cases make bad laws.
Yep.
Right. And when they hire me as an expert, it's a bad case.
Yep.
Nobody hires me on the easy ones.
Right.
You know, the really straightforward ones are like, yeah, we don't need you. Everyone, I had a paralegal send me discovery and like, John, I'm really sorry you're going to look at this one. It's kind of a dog poop case. And I'm like, every single case I'm in is a dog poop case.
Yeah, valid.
And so like that's what I get invited to. It's the only show in town that I get to come to. So we try to make sure we're careful with that stuff. But that's where I'm going in, and Neil's out there teaching like a dog.
Yeah, we've got I think we've got 6 classes that Chris Bean is going to travel with me for the classes this year. So cool. Here in just a few weeks, we're headed down to Georgia for one, and then we're in Arkansas and out to Cleveland, up to Seattle at some point, Kansas.
We should get you into New York.
Yeah, well, hey, someday for sure. We got a full schedule. So when I did my schedule, I looked at it. I'm like, okay, I've got I think it's 18 trips on the books so far.
Wow.
For a total of like 77 days away from home for the year.
Wow.
And I've added 2 since then. So it's a lot.
It is for sure.
But I love it. The going out and teaching the handgun stuff. We're calling it the ASP Skills Summit. We're changing it up just a little bit. Still based off of the evidence that we see on the videos and all of that kind of thing. The skills that you're going to need to survive a gunfight if you need them. And it's just that little bit of the day. Because like you said, most people aren't going to have to do this.
Yeah.
If you do have to do this, you need to be good at it.
For sure.
Or at least above average.
Yep.
And so that's
so
really
then
where I'm at.
The website for everybody to go to be able to
just go to activeselfprotection.com.
And everything's there.
Yeah, everything's
there.
You know, and then the other big thing is the ASP Unlimited app that we've launched. It gives you early access to all of John's lessons. We do some live stuff there that's really fun. The live streams are always a good time there. And there's some exclusive content that you don't get from YouTube. So those are the real big places.
And I gotta tell you, I have a subscription to it, and we did a show with Ed Monk back in the fall, and so I was on the treadmill at the gym, and I'm watching the Ed Monk lectures.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
We were so grateful to Ed to let us put those in there because that information is so critical.
Yeah. And
he's literally the researcher on that issue of stopping an active killer. And Ed allowed us to put that full-length class in the app, and what an incredible resource for him to do that for us.
Yeah, for sure. Well,
but you got to get the app.
Yeah, and if you're here at SHOT Show, you can actually get in on any of these giveaway items. Go to the booths that are on the bingo card, and you get 8 chances if you actually go to each booth. So different sponsors.
There you go.
Gentlemen, thank you both very much.
Yeah, it's always awesome.
It's always a pleasure to see you guys.
Love hanging out with you guys. This is fun. Thanks for asking us.
All right, we have one more show tomorrow. Tomorrow is the 23rd. Who do we have tomorrow?
We have
Ken Campbell from Gunsight and John Crump.
Yes, we do.
That's what we got tomorrow. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you later.
Be safe.